Hello everybody, we're doing a car vlog after a couple weeks again, just because I felt like doing that once more. I wanted to talk real quick about aging and driving, which is a very touchy subject, I'm aware. You probably do remember, if you've seen a couple of my other vlogs, that my dad had issues driving because he's currently developing dementia, or at least he has it. Pretty sure he's full on got dementia at this point. Anyway, so he had a point where he had gone off one evening in the middle of the night, actually. And first of all, he had walked around the house in a bit of a dazed state. And after a while, he decided to get in the car and he was going to drive somewhere. Not even really sure where he wanted to go, but he felt like he needed to drive somewhere. And it ended up going, he ended up going somewhere completely different. I had to pull him off the road, and that was a bit of an issue because of course that damaged the car, etc. That's a whole different story. The thing is, luckily he didn't actually run into anybody while he was out there being all confused, because he was also going in against traffic. It was a dual lane road, which is basically a single lane going either way. I think it's the same road that I tend to go on when I'm driving home, or yeah, when I'm driving home as well. But when I'm going to work, I use the same road, I think. At least according to the description, I think that's the road he was on. So that is a single lane traffic, and there's usually no actual like bumps in the middle. There's no median, so it's like road, two white lines, road, and then you just have to pay attention that people aren't trying to ride on the wrong side of the road for a change. So he did that. And when I heard about that, I was like, okay, I need to find something. Maybe there's like a news article somewhere that I can look at. So I went and looked up for 70-something-year-old man, confused, pulled off the road, that type of thing. And even tried to localize it to like search within my local area. And what I thought was going to be an unusual story turned out to be very common. So common, as a matter of fact, that I didn't actually manage to find his story. There were like so many other people who were being pulled off the road, older women, older men, people who were generally confused. And some of them ended well, like my dad, like they were able to just pull them off the road, talk to him, and maybe bring them back home and stuff like that. And others, not so much. And of course, it's really sad when you drive around in a confused state and you end up hurting yourself, but it's even sadder if you're also hurting other people by doing that, because you don't know who's in the car that you're about to unintentionally play chicken with. So you really need to consider. I think most of the people that watch me aren't 70 plus, but still, some of them, one day you will be, I would think, and some of you will have a driver's license. And I know that it's going to be very tough, but I think after a while you do have to be honest with yourself that it's time to let it go, so to speak. It's better to call a taxi if you need to go somewhere. Hopefully you'll have some friends and family to rely on that can pick you up and have you do stuff with them and stuff like that. Because it's just too dangerous. Because just this last week alone I encountered three aged drivers actually. Two driving regular cars. Two in around the single lane road that I was talking about that I think my dad was also driving on, but one of them was in a regular car and one of them was in a 45-kilometer car. And a third one I encountered just now driving over here to the store. The thing, what I noticed mostly is that they're often very slow and they're very unsure with their steering. They tend to veer off to left and right a lot. And the one that I was stuck behind on the single lane road, eventually I managed to pass him when we eventually got on this large traffic stop with different lanes going to different highways and also going, I don't know, just in different areas, directions, and etc. like that. I managed to pass that one because he was initially on the 80 road in front of me, and you have to go 80 kilometers there. That's the speed limit. Like, there are lower speeds you can go, but they're not really handy. I mean, it's allowed, and we'll get to that in a moment, but it just makes things extra dangerous. So this guy was on an 80 road, and he was doing sometimes 70, and sometimes he slow down to 60, and it would be so erratic that I would be like constantly wondering what he's going to do next. It was not safe, and unfortunately it was very busy on the lane coming towards us as well, so I couldn't like go past him thinking, oh, this might be a good time to pass him. Didn't have any of that until I ended up on that large traffic stop with all the different lanes, and I was able to go beyond him. Like, you have like suddenly you have 6 lanes, they all go in different places, and I was like able to take my double lane, the second one going straight ahead to where I was going to go past him, and then I went in front of him. And I was looking in my rear mirror to see what was going on behind that steering wheel, because some of the driving that they do Also reminds me of people who are like driving with balloons of laughing gas. That appears to be a more and more popular thing, which is also extremely dangerous, but that is a whole different category of dangerous. But anyway, so he noticed that I passed him. He did see that. And I think because a car passed him, he got scared because he suddenly stepped on the brakes. There was luckily nobody behind him at that point. Like the fact that somebody had passed him suddenly caught him off guard. He was like, oh no, I need to slow down, right? Because that's the first thing you want to do. Try to get control of the situation, slow down. And so he stopped in the middle of a turn lane, basically. And I was looking at him with my rear view mirror, and I saw that he was constantly like looking in it and like trying to figure stuff out. And like, I'm just like, this is not a good situation, my guy, because you're clearly not comfortable behind the wheel. You appear to be very out of control, very intimidated by the everything going on around you. And so far, you're on a single lane, which was good enough. I mean, that nobody can pass you in the single lane. I remember that I got back comfortable behind the wheel from driving down single lane roads near my house so that nobody could have passed me and I would just be able to focus on driving. So I understand that on a single lane it's still possible as long as you can't get onto the other lane. But in a double lane or more road, that is very dangerous because people are passing you left and right, and if you have no control and you constantly get intimidated by that, then that could be very dangerous. You could suddenly step on your brakes, cause a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos, and people could crash into you. Pretty much the same thing happened with the guy that I was just driving behind as well. He was also very slow. We were on a lane where the speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour. And he was going usually about 45 and then slow down to 40, and then he would like have to take a turn, like there's gradual turns all along the road, and he would go a little bit further to the right, and then he would slow down, and every time there would be like a crosswalk for pedestrians, he would slow down even though there was nobody there. Like, oh my god, like he suddenly realized, oh, there's a crosswalk here, I need to slow down. And so that was very dangerous as well. And then the other one that I was talking about, he had a 45 kilometer car. Now, 45 kilometer cars are really good for within town limits because mostly the speed limit is 50, and 45 is still possible. People will still get annoyed with you, but at least like the speed is still fast enough for it not to be an obstruction in traffic. Now, this guy that I encountered with his 45 kilometer car, which the limit is 45 kilometers on that car, it can't go any faster, was on the same 80 kilometer road that, actually I've seen him several times, I think. Well, let me start with the one from this week so I can like gradually work on to the next couple of times that I saw him. Anyway, so on the same single lane road where the speed limit is 80 kilometers, so everybody's expected to go 80 kilometers per hour, he's driving a car that's going 45 kilometers per hour, so that's half the speed pretty much that everybody expects to be able to go. Now, this is morning traffic, so the other lane going back was also quite busy. Luckily, there were occasionally some like empty pieces of road between the next row of cars that were coming our way. So because the people that were in front of me, like there was like 5 or so cars in front of me before I actually managed to get right behind a 45 kilometer car, they would occasionally try to swerve around him. And like I said, it was luckily reasonably quiet that day, unexpectedly for a Thursday. But that could have gone very differently. Like somebody could have gotten so annoyed that they were trying to pass a 45 kilometer and not judge the amount of space that they had correctly, and they could have ended up running into somebody who was coming in through the opposite lane. And then we could have had casualties perhaps, and definitely a lot of damage. And possibly also the person in the 45 kilometer car could have gotten involved in that if somebody were suddenly to try and pass him and decide, oh wait, I don't have enough space, and then try to yank it over to the right. They could have possibly clipped that car as well, and this is a very dangerous situation. Now, this time I actually had to try and get past him, but the previous 2 times that I've seen him, also in the same car, in the same road, was in the part beyond that when the single lane road becomes a double lane road, so people can just go past it a little more comfortably and have more space and more time to anticipate on these things. And I actually talked about this with my brother, and he was like, well, you know, 45 kilometer cars are allowed technically there, and so it's not like they can get a ticket or anything like that, but, you know, it's not handy. And I looked into it a little deeper, and apparently there are 80 kilometer roads that have a certain sign up front with like a tractor on it and a motorcycle and like a scooter or something to say, okay, if you are in this type of category with your speed, you're not allowed to be on this road. And I checked, and the road that we usually drive does not have that sign. Probably because it's in an area where there are farms somewhere left and right, so tractors need to be able to go on that road. So at least with a tractor, you can clearly see from a distance that there's something there that's not going to go too fast. Still dangerous, but it's one of those things that are just necessary because they happen to live on that road and they can't get around any other way. But the 45-kilometer car could have easily have gone onto the fairly spacious, I would call it a bicycle lane off to the right. It kind of looks like halfway between a country road and a bicycle lane. I think that would be a much better spot for them because it's also very dangerous for the person driving the 45-kilometer car. It's not just that people try to pass them and they end up maybe causing accidents. It's also, I would not feel comfortable on an 80 lane, basically, in a 45-kilometer car with people behind me getting all annoyed and trying to pass me, and every couple of seconds somebody comes past me, like trying to race ahead of the stream of cars coming from the other way direction. I would feel very bad about that. I would feel very anxious about that. And I think I would prefer to be not there. I would probably either, if I have to go somewhere that would require me going over an 80 road, I would probably try to take the train or anything else that would prevent me from going there. But that's just my level of thinking. So actually I'm thinking if I'm ever going to be that age and I start to have issues driving, like with my vision, or I just don't understand things as well, I don't have the insight anymore, I should have the insight in my own skill that I should give up my license and then find other ways to travel. I hope by that time we'll have like self-driving taxis, because that's one of those things. It reminds me of the system that I'm thinking of. I don't know if you guys ever played a game called Detroit Become Human, I think. Is that it? Become Human? Something like that. Well, that's the game anyway. They had these self-driving taxis where you had like seats in front and back and everything, and they were very handy. I'm thinking we are definitely getting closer to having that technology, and I think by the time that I'm 70, which should be another 30 years or so from now, that we should have something like that in place. So I'm definitely hoping that we'll have something like that, and if not, then I think I would go for, maybe initially I would go for a 45-kilometer car if I'm thinking that the highways and those 80 roads are too dangerous for me. Then I would go for a 45-kilometer car and then like stick to only driving it in a place where the speed limit is 50, and if I can't do that anymore, then maybe one of those mobility scooters, maybe, or, and like I said, start taxis or relying on people to bring me places. Before any of that though, I would hope that I would be smart enough to move somewhere which would be more in the center of town somewhere, or at least in an area that has a community center, so I can just go walk to the store and stuff like that and do everything I need to within my own little bubble or area of activity, so to speak, because it really is dangerous, and it's also very sad to have to meet your end like that after a long life of doing, I don't know what you've been doing, probably leaving a lot of people behind who are very sad at your passing and stuff like that. So if at all possible, if you're about to approach that age, then make sure to take a look at your driving skills and your comfort behind the wheel, and adjust your situation accordingly. It will also help out to save up before then. Now I know that a lot of stuff, the money isn't really worth much anymore these days. Maybe that will change, or maybe some other system will come into place, who knows. Just saying that always make sure to check if your future is still looking decent and possible, because you might be in somebody's way and that might cause for a lot of trouble. So that's something I would like people to consider. In any case, make sure to have a nice Saturday. I'm about to go into the store, provided that they don't have another barbecue lined up. I don't know, I see people walking in and out, so I guess it's okay. And I'll see you on Tuesday with more Stardew Valley, and on Friday, of course, we'll have more Minecraft. So thanks for watching for now, and bye-bye for now. Said for now twice.